Today's guest is Alex Pardo, entrepreneur, devoted family man, and the founder of Storage Wins, a coaching community helping people buy their first storage facility in as little as 6 to 12 months. He's also the voice behind Flip Empire podcast with over 800 episodes of real talk, real results under his belt. In this episode, we dive deep into vision stacking, the power of consistency, and how family dynamics shape leadership. We also explore the connection between the body and the brain and the unconventional strategies that spark Alex's personal health transformation. This one's rich with insight, heart, and actionable tools. So let's dive in.
Alex, to kick things off, I kind of want to set the stage as to who you are. What is it that you do, and how do you help people?
Yeah, man, brother, first off, love what you're doing, man. I'm excited for this conversation. You and I have had thousands, if not tens of thousands of conversations in our lives. And it's cool that now we get to kind of share our experience and how we help people. But yeah, man, look, I have been a real estate investor for almost 20 years, going on 20 years. And the last 5 years, my focus has been on helping real estate investors and employees, people that are in 9 to 5 jobs that generally speaking, they don't like, it doesn't fulfill them. I help them buy their first self-storage facility within 6 to 12 months. And one of the things I have found is ultimately people really want, it's not so much about the money, it's about what the money can do for them. And it's really about options. It's about choices. It's about having freedom. And I have found the self-storage asset class to be one of the very best vehicles in which to do that. And because of my background in real estate and business, now I combine my love for coaching and really wanting to have an impact on people's lives. And I've just married the two.
Man, that's awesome. One of the words that stood out to me as you were sharing that was the word freedom. And when we talk about health, if you have no health, you have no freedom.
Right.
And one of the reasons why I wanted you on here is because the way you do things has been different. You don't approach things in the regular way, hence the against the herd mentality and mindset. But I wanted to tap into your health journey. And we have had, or I've had the privilege of working with you and helping you on that journey. And
Absolutely.
I want to share with you, I want you to share with people, like, give a little background as to your health, like over the,
Yeah.
let's say 5 to 10 years, maybe a little background. That way we can establish a baseline and then kind of walk through that journey.
Yeah, for sure, man. Dude, I'm super fortunate that I've been, generally speaking, I've been very healthy pretty much my entire life. Like, yeah, I've dealt with some setbacks here and there, but nothing major. Like, so I want to frame it from the perspective that, like, I feel super blessed. I'm super grateful, and there's people out there dealing with significantly worse things, right? But one of the I guess the word chronic comes to mind. One of the chronic challenges I've dealt with for, man, the better part of 10 to 20 years. And I realize that's a wide range, but it's been that long. I can remember in college starting to feel this way, is a sensation of feeling very sore, feeling very tight, feeling muscles very achy, but not in a, I just worked out and I haven't worked out in years and now I'm sore. Not in that kind of way. Think of just constantly, like on a daily basis, just feeling sore. And this is some, you're hearing from, you're listening to somebody who stretches on a daily basis. I drink a lot of water. I do a lot of the things that you would think would prevent that type of feeling and sensation. And yet for whatever reason, I guess I've suffered with this, and maybe suffered is not the right word to use because that almost sounds like a victim. But I get to now explore, and that's some of the work that you and I have done. Is like I've gone to traditional doctors, I've done my research online, I've tried elimination diets, I've tried different things, and nothing seems to help. And so, because of our relationship and because I know, you have a gift for helping people, I've come to you and I've shared some of these challenges with you. And you've taken a very different approach with me than anybody else I've ever worked with. And it's improved a lot. Now, can I say, hey, I never feel those things anymore. No, because that wouldn't be true. And I've made significant strides. And I think that's because of your very unconventional, non-conformist way of doing things, right? The against the herd mentality. I'm against medicine. I don't like ingesting something if I don't absolutely have to. And so yeah, man, you've just helped me think about it. First of all, I think most things start with your mindset. And so you've helped me frame what I'm going through in a very different way. And if you were interviewing me 15 years ago, my language would be very different. I would be, so that's why I don't like to use the word suffer because it hasn't really been that. But yeah, man. So as a result of this feeling, I'm very active. Like I grew up, as you know, Mando, playing sports. And I got into pickleball several years ago. And just recently, you and I have reconnected. And now I'm doing jujitsu with you. And as a result of those things, I have had, aches and pains. And I've had some challenges in terms of pulled hamstrings, calf muscles that have been pulled, things of that nature. And so when I started coming to you, it was like, hey, how can I prepare my body in a way where I can do the things I enjoy without the risk of injury?
Right.
Right. And now, granted, it's sports, so injury's always on the table. But with that said, I just didn't want to get injured because I was sprinting and I, was going to pull a hamstring or something. And so I'll kind of pause there because I know I've said a lot, but yeah, those are some of the things that I've kind of dealt with from a health perspective.
Alex, so in there you mentioned about the idea of the mindset that you don't want to use the word suffer because puts you in this victim mentality. I'm curious, um, how has your mindset shifted on how to approach this or how to look at this from before to after the work that we've done, and how has that helped?
I mean, it's helped in a lot of ways. First off, with any setback, adversity, challenge, and I don't care if we're talking about health, if we're talking about business, relationships, whatever it might be, you can choose to see the glass half empty or half full, right? It's really up to you. You get to make the choice. And one of the things that I've had to relearn, right? Or you've brought a lot of awareness to this part of my life when it comes to my health because I'm somebody who, I mean, if you look behind me, I have a lot of books and most of them are personal development. So for the better part of 2 decades, I've been investing in myself personally, working with coaches, mentors. Now, admittedly, the majority of those coaches and mentors have been in the business world. Working with you has allowed me to see that I can take the mindset that has helped me in business and apply it to every area of my life, and health is no different. So instead of complaining and moaning and griping about why do I feel this way, you've allowed me to see that, hey, you get to explore your body now more. You get to go deeper and find out, like really get in tune with what are the things that are affecting you, why. And as a result of these aches and pains, I've just been able to kind of explore things and get a deeper understanding and awareness about things. And you've given me, I mean, I can't tell people listening how many times you have sent me a text with like a 2, 3, 5, 7 minute video. Hey, do this, right? Do these, I don't know if I would call them exercises per se, but like do these stretches, move your body in a way that I've never even moved my body. Like I'm not just talking about a typical like, toe touch type of stretch, but just very different things that I just don't have the knowledge to, like, I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have done that. And it's interesting because when you listen to a coach, somebody that's further along in the journey and somebody that you trust and respect, and you do what they say and you don't question it, you see results, generally speaking. And that's what's happened to me.
Yeah. You brought up this idea of sending you these videos um, throughout, throughout the journey. Hey, do this, do that. And I kind of want to highlight that for a moment because I think it's important to understand the context of it. These aren't just like random, hey, do these exercises. And one of the things that you mentioned was, hey, I'm a little bit lost for how to refer to this.
Because it's not an exercise.
Right. And so I wanted to bring a little bit of clarity there. When we're looking at the health and when we're looking at body that is in pain, the body that is not moving properly, it's not activating properly. We got to go to the source. And one of the big things that we've had multiple conversations is, okay, what's the hierarchy? If we think about it from what's the most important thing to keep you alive and keep the brain activated, we have to start from breathing, right? The breathing is the thing that, if you look at everything, breathing is going to be the thing that your body can be the least amount of time without.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're all alive, not we wouldn't be talking and so forth. But different types of breathing create different results and different environments in your body. And
Yeah.
an example I like to give is if you see somebody like slouched over, breathing shallow, and they're like a really slumped over, very shallow breathing, would you say that that person is energized and confident, or would you probably say that that person has some depression, some lack of energy, right?
The latter, yeah, lack of energy for sure.
Right. And so when we're looking at that, the shape of your breathing, the type of breathing will impact your physiology,
Mm-hmm.
but also your psychology. And so one of the things that we talk about is what are the hierarchies that your body needs. And so we look at a few main areas. We got oxygenation, hydration, nutrition, activation, relaxation, and then the last one, emotion. And we're looking constantly at those 6 areas and peeling back the layers and peeling back the layers. As we start feeding the brain these things, you'll start realizing, oh, it lets go a little bit more. And now it opens a new door that gives you access to something different. And so, very
Yeah.
much throughout this journey, one of the things that we were constantly working with you is as you would open a new door, you would go further and then you would hit the next barrier. And
Yeah.
then it's like, hey, okay, here's how you unlock this door. I want you to do this to target the nervous system, the higher level functions, to then allow you to give you access to the next stage or the next layer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man, breathing, I'm glad you brought that up. Breathing has played such an integral role in this. And I find myself now applying just certain breathing, I don't know if I'd call them techniques, but certain ways of breathing, even that carries over into the business world, right? If I'm going to give a talk or something that I might be feeling a little bit nervous or anxious about, like breathing just tends to calm me down and just slow things down, which allows me to think clearer, communicate more effectively. So it's had a ripple effect on other areas of my life. And dude, today we were at jujitsu. And I realized you didn't show up because you don't want to face me. But hey, I had to get one in, right? I had to get one in. But so the professor said, "Hey, it's time to roll. Grab your mouthpieces." And I felt a different feeling inside. It wasn't a nervous feeling. It was just like, okay, it's time to compete almost.
Yeah.
And the adrenaline, I could sense inside physiologically, like something shifting in me. And I found my heart rate beating a little faster. Right. And I remember like, okay, just breathe because I'm about to do something that's going to take my breath away pretty quickly. So just breathe and slow down. So, anyways, I want to highlight that because it's had a ripple effect on different areas of my life.
I remember there was a very clear example. You were going to give a talk and you had that sensation of the heart rate going up, some of that heat
Hmm.
on the face,
Yep, rosacea.
the rosacea, and then I remember we had the conversation. I said, "Hey, this is what I want you to do. Take this breathing pattern, do that, plus add these neurological drills, and just to get you in the zone." And I remember you said, like, it made a big shift.
It did.
I remember it was for one of these conferences that you were at.
Yeah, I was giving a talk at a big mastermind in front of, I don't know, a couple 150, 200 like high level real estate investors. And I remember even the thought of it was, like I knew I could go out there and deliver a good talk and deliver value. And there's still something about, getting on stage that kind of gets the heart pumping in a different way.
Right, 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 right. And by the way, this is something I always share with my clients, is especially when we're talking about performance, is being nervous and having that elevated heart rate is not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah,
It
agreed.
is it is a thing that lets you know that what you're about to do matters to you. You don't want to be like, oh, like just floppy about it. You want that elevated stimulus, but not to the point where you get that adrenaline dump, and now you got the
Correct.
belly legs, and you want that clarity, because what it does is that the reason that the adrenaline spikes up that way, it gives you hyper focus. And
Hmm.
we both know that when you get on stage, what you have to give is valuable, and you're going to give lots of value. So it wasn't a function of, am I ready for this? It's just
Yeah.
resetting it to refocus, for you to share your gifts at that point.
So one thing that I really want to underscore for people watching and listening is like rewind the last 2 minutes. What you just shared, Armando, is I think an example of what I was referring to earlier when I said that you've helped me a lot from a mindset perspective, like shifting a lot of the things I know in the business world and personal development and applying those very principles and the frameworks to my health. And I think what you just shared is a microcosm of kind of how I feel is that you allow me to reframe things in a way that it just makes the journey much more, I don't want to say easier, but just more enjoyable. And I guess I can continue to grow, and then I'll hit another barrier, and I know that, but then I'll get beyond that barrier. So I think that's like I've never heard a doctor or a physical therapist or someone talk. Nobody's ever really talked to me like that when it comes to my health.
Right.
It's all very black and white. It's all very like, you know what I mean? And that approach hasn't really been super effective for me.
I'm glad that you brought that up, and I'm happy that you felt the impact of that. And I think, to your point, it's one of the biggest things that I have a problem with the industry, is that what we see is the dehumanization and the lack of connection of everything around us. We're not a machine.
Hmm.
Our health is not separate from the rest of our life. And so if we do not know how to integrate health with everything, if we don't know how to integrate these things that are going to allow us to tap into more clarity, more energy, more focus, as well as releasing the pain patterns, then
Hmm.
you end up just chasing symptoms, which is what happens. You go to a doctor, and what happens? Oh, take this drug, take that
Yeah.
drug. And
Yeah.
really, you're just chasing symptoms. And by the way, when I share this, is doctors, nurses, chiropractors, acupuncturists, I genuinely believe all these people got into the profession because they want to help.
Hmm.
There is something to be said for how you get educated and how you get trained. And so much of their training gets siloed into, oh, this is the box and the lens that you have to look at everything. And they never look outside of that, partly because either they're not trained, and then here comes the other part, is the insurance.
Yeah.
Insurance often will dictate how a lot of this stuff gets delivered. And so if you have a
Yeah.
therapist that is taking insurance, and all of a sudden it's like, well, we're not going to cover any breathing,
Hmm.
the likelihood of them wasting that time that they don't
Yeah.
already have because they're juggling five people at the same time,
Right.
they're not going to do it, because it's much easier to go to that machine, even though that's just addressing a symptom, and you haven't dealt with the rewiring, the reprogramming of the entire body. And it's part of the system that's feeding it. And that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why the Against the Herd podcast, why I created it, is because I want people to see that there's a different way.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, we have to go against the herd. We have to go against the flow of the way the things are moving at this point, to get deeper understanding and get deeper uh, results.
Yeah, and I think to speak to that for a quick moment, I think for anybody listening to us that wants to get results, I think it's important coming from coming from somebody who came in not knowing much and just I was very open to your approach. And now, granted, I had the benefit of our relationship and our friendship for 40 years or whatever it's been. And so I trusted you blindly. So if you literally told me do this, then I was going to do this because I believe that you have my best interests at heart, and that, you have the knowledge, experience, and the wisdom. And I know you have a gift when it comes to like helping people heal. But I think somebody that doesn't know you, if they're going to work with you, I think it's really important for them to come with an open mind, open heart, even especially because it's an against the herd approach. It's an against the herd mentality. And so I really want to challenge anybody out there, working with somebody like you. And I don't know very many people that do exactly what you do. In fact, I don't think I know anybody. I think it's super important that for that person to get results, like anything else, they have to listen. They have to have an open mind, open heart. They have to start to rewire their thinking and then just follow kind of what you lay out done consistently. Because man, I mean, you've helped my mom, you've helped my wife. I know there's several people that I personally I've referred you friends, and everybody always tells me the same thing, man. Like it's always a glowing review, right? And but I think if somebody goes in and they have a fixed mindset, they have this mentality that, oh, this is not going to work, right? Or then it might not work.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know if you would agree or disagree, but I think the person has to be open to receiving just a different approach.
100%. Look, you're not, I'm not doing anything. If that may sound weird, but I'm not doing it. I don't heal you. I don't have magical powers. I'm not Jesus. Like, I'm not the healer. I am the communicator. I help you translate what your body, actually, one of the ways I like to say it, I'm like a marriage counselor for you and your body.
Yeah,
Right?
that's a good way to put it.
I help you understand the language of your body. There's a great oh, it was a great ad for it's a couple that they're doing couples therapy, and the wife is telling the therapist, and she's like, "Oh, he doesn't do this, and it makes me feel this way," and the guy's like clueless, and then the therapist goes, um, "Oh, this is," because the guy was a big golfer. He goes, "This is when you fall up short on the green after you hit, and then you three putt." And he's like, "Really? That's what it feels like?" Oh man. And
That's
so
great.
when I saw that, I was like, that's a perfect illustration of what I do, is being able to make that bridge, that inference, so that people can have a better understanding of, hey, your body is doing this, and this is what it means. This is what it needs from you, so that now there's better cohesion and you're not
Yeah.
in this fight.
Yeah, no, man, and actually I had never thought of that until you just said it, but like that's one thing I've realized with you is that you've always communicated with me in a way in which I can understand what's going on with my body, and you're not using words that I don't even know how to repeat back to you, much less spell, right? And so it's a very, I don't know, down to earth is the way to explain it, but it makes sense, it clicks. And I think the other thing now where I will push back is that no, you're not Jesus, of course, right? Nobody is like only Jesus. And you might not be a healer per se, but you do have a gift. I'll give you an example. Like when I came to you, I think it was at some point last year, where I was dealing with that calf strain, that calf pull that like put me out of pickleball for like a couple weeks or whatever it was. I remember when I came to you and you kind of like put me down on the massage table. You started working on my arms, and then you started working on my other leg, and I'm like, Mando, it's not that one, it's this one. You're like, yeah, I know. And I didn't even know the connection between like how different parts of your body it's connected to, like it's all connected, it's all one big system. But and I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it, but like you were working on, I think, on my left calf, and I think you were working on like my hands at some point, right? And or a certain part of my fingers, and I'm like, what are you doing? But I was asking you that like in a friendly banter kind of way.
Right.
And basically there was a method to your madness. It was strange how you started to apply pressure and you started to do certain things, not even in the area I felt affected, and I started to feel more loose in that area as a result. Super weird. I don't know. That's my word, not yours, obviously. Super weird how that works is what I meant.
Yeah, look, it's funny that you say that. And you know what's wild is that I'm already, this December will be 20 years. December 2025 will be 20 years, which, by the way, now that we say that. I have you to thank for that because in 2005, as I still remember the day.
There's
We,
gonna be a backhanded compliment coming.
it is, but I still remember, and then we've had this conversation before. I was in Orlando doing one of my rotations in physical therapy school, and I remember you calling me excited. You're like, man, I just started my company. And I was like, this is 2005.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean you started your own company? He goes, yeah, man, you could do it. You just go on sunbiz.org and start your LLC. And I started my own real estate company. And I was like, well, if Alex can do that, then I can start my own. I
Thanks a
go,
lot, bro.
no, but you know what? The fact that you called me and you shared that with me, and you actually walked me through the first few steps, you gave
Yeah.
me permission to do that, whereas normally I wouldn't have made that jump. I think I would have waited years and even then probably not done it. So that set a lot of things in motion. And while, yes, we joke around and as a little backhanded compliment,
If he can do it, I can definitely do
yeah,
it.
no, but it gave me permission to say,
Yeah.
why not go for that? And once I started it and opened up my LLC, which by the way, I had no idea if that's what I needed to open, but you did it an LLC. I was like, all right, if Alex did an LLC, I guess that's good enough for me, right?
That's so funny, man.
It is, but look, it speaks a lot to the environment and who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, for sure.
And the fact that you kind of opened that door for me, it opened the door for me to now start putting these gifts in a more curated manner because I worked in physical therapy clinics and I remember hating it. And I was like, I don't
Mm,
want this. I don't want this. We're not helping people the way I want to help people, which is actually solving a problem. I don't
yeah.
want to just chase symptoms. And if it wasn't for there, I'm not saying I wouldn't have gotten there. It would have taken a lot longer. And so because of you, I'm gonna give you this. Because of you, um, I started my company and I started thinking in this way that I don't think I would have had you not share with me the journey that you were taking. So I want to personally say thank you for that and for
Awesome, man.
the amount of people that it's impacted as a result, because we're going on 20 years and it still blows my mind when I get to blow somebody else's mind that has been to doctors, have been to chiropractors, has had
Yeah, man.
surgeries, and then after one session, they they no longer have pain. After two or three sessions, they no longer have pain when they've been months, years with pain because we've really addressed the actual core and we've approached it from a more holistic and more integrated approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love it, man. I appreciate you sharing that. And I tip my hat to you because I know you very well, but like you have a genuine desire to help people. And when you get those types of reviews and testimonials and somebody that's come to you and says, hey, I've had this surgery and I've gone to this person and that person, and I've been dealing with this back pain or whatever for, the majority of my adult life. And all of a sudden, after a month or 2 months or 3 months of working with you, like I'm not dealing with that anymore. Like I know that genuinely fuels you.
Yeah.
So and that's awesome, man. This isn't just about money for you. It's about genuinely helping people. And to your point, like you could have probably made pretty decent money as a physical therapist, right? But you saw that wasn't the path for you. You wanted to help people in a more meaningful way, not the factory type of way, is the way I see it.
Yeah. No, definitely, definitely. Alex, what would you say like now what it has appeared over the past few years of us working together on and off, um, you're doing more things and you're doing them more consistently.
Yeah, for sure.
What what do you like? What are you feeling different now that has kept you more consistent and has you being, I guess, more active without
Well,
downtime?
No, it's a great question, and you just brought it up a little while ago. You know, you're a product of your environment and the people that you surround yourself with. And I think it was, I think it was Jim Rohn or one of the old school personal development guys that said, you are the average of the five people you hang around with the most. And, outside of my family, you're one of those people. And so I'm holding something up that says daily commitments. It's a little board that I was gifted from one of the communities that I'm in, and it says daily commitments. And the very first one is daily sweat. Right now, my first one for me is connecting to God, but then after that, it's daily sweat. And we have a mutual friend, Alain Guerra, and he says, he said, I don't say workout, I say train.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I said, why? And he says, because it's a totally different mindset. A workout is just a workout. When you train, you're training. And I don't know if I can explain it to you why it clicked, but it just clicked and resonated. And you and I have talked about like creating rules in our lives. Like, what are the non-negotiables? What are the things that get done? Like when I wake up in the morning, like I go to the bathroom, I brush my teeth. I don't have to think about it. It's a non-negotiable. It just happens. And so lately, over the last, I don't know, maybe 2, 3 years or so, I've been more consistent getting to the gym. I've been more consistent drinking water. I've been more consistent just doing things that I know are going to better me. And part of that is just, you mature, and I have two little girls, and God knows I want to walk them down the aisle one day, and I want to be able to play with my grandkids, and I want to do things that if I don't take care of myself, I'm not going to be able to do. Now, do I have everything super dialed in? Is there no room for improvement? I can't say that. There's always room for improvement, and there's things I can definitely do better, but it's ingrained in me already. Like, I was just at a mastermind in Tampa 3 weeks ago, and I can bring up the text, but in the interest of time, I won't scroll and find it. And you said, you just text me, you're like, hey, make sure you get your training in. At one point, I took my wife to Nashville for Valentine's weekend, and it was like 8 or 9 o'clock. And you text me, you're like, hey, if you haven't gotten your workout in, there's still enough time. Like that. So that accountability, not that I necessarily need it, I appreciate it. And I think that type of accountability, surrounding yourself, again, you being a product of your environment, uh, making sure that you do an inventory check of the people in your network and ecosystem, because it's impossible to jump in the ocean and not get wet.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with relationships and the people that you associate with. So they're either lifting you up or they're pulling you down, even though it might not seem like they're pulling you down. And it could be intentional or unintentional, but it should be very easy to tell if somebody's lifting you up and adding value to your life or they're not. And if they're not, then they're pulling you down. Uh, and vice versa. And that's a two-way street. And you need to be thinking about how are you contributing and adding to other people's lives. You and I had a conversation this morning about, I just published a YouTube video on my channel, and I said, "Oh man, I don't like this and that about it." And you told me what a friend would tell me. You didn't just agree with me. You said, "I disagree. Like, let me push back on that, and here's why." And it gave me the opportunity to again reframe it, look at it from a different perspective.
Nice. How do you think your consistency, Alex, specifically with your health, has impacted your family? Like, have you noticed I mean, it's all girls in your house, so the girls, have you noticed a difference that of how it's impacted them and their health, or the way they view things, or the way they view you?
Yeah, man. Early on, in my parenting journey, I realized that it's not about what's taught, it's about what's caught.
Hmm.
Right? It's not about what's taught, it's about what's caught. And so I am more mindful. Like when I was growing up, it wasn't uncommon for us to swing through the McDonald's drive-through. Now I don't want to throw my parents under the bus. That certainly wasn't like an everyday thing, but every now and then, you pick up a Happy Meal, right? Or you pick up dollar chicken nuggets or dollar cheeseburgers, whatever it was back in the day. We don't do that. We don't do that. And that's not a judgment. That's just like, it's just, I know that food's not good for them. Now, I'm going to be very transparent. We've made strides in that area, and there's a lot more room for improvement in terms of the things that, So I think first off, it's if you're listening to this, you're probably an adult. And so we are an example for our children. And I think the lifestyle, right? So, like going back to that word of, are you working out or are you training? right? Are you dieting, or are you just looking to eat better because you want to live longer and you want to sustained energy? So I think it's helped me in terms of sharing with them, like we don't buy soda, and we don't, and when we buy junk food and it's a one-off thing, like I might say yes, and I'll explain to them why this is not the best decision for them. So I'm not just like telling them necessarily, you can do this, you can't do that. I'm trying to educate them through stories, through like, hey, this is what I've experienced. And if you make this choice consistently over time, this can be the consequence and result of it. Now, it's very difficult. I'm not necessarily saying my 7 and 9 year old, it's always like, like sinking in. But I'd like to think that I'm already seeing them making better choices.
That's great. That's great. Look, I'll tell you something that completely shocked me was there was a point, especially when I first got married, where my training was all over the place, my eating was all over the place. I wasn't out of shape. I just wasn't consistent with anything. And I remember I made a decision to just start focusing on a few habits. And I remember after 3 weeks of doing those every single day, it was 10 minutes of some kind of movement, whether it was stretching, walking, running, calisthenics, lifting. That was the minimum. So I went by minimums. I could always do more, but that was how I could check it off. If I did at least 10 minutes of that, I was reading at least 5 pages in a book. I was writing at least 50 words. I was making a video every day, and um, I was doing my breathing. I was taking 40 deep breaths every day. Those were the 5 things that I focused on. And I did
Very
that.
similar to this.
Yeah, I did that every single day. And I remember at about 3 weeks, my wife turns to me and she says, you're I'm really proud of you for being super consistent. Um, you doing this makes me feel safe. And I'm like, how does that even make any sense? And
Makes perfect sense.
she goes on to tell me, she goes, no, it's watching you be consistent lets me know that you're there. It lets me know that you're going to be there. You have the staying power
Yeah.
to overcome things because you can be consistent. And for me, that makes me feel safe. That makes me feel like I can count on you more. And if I feel like I can count on you, that brings more peace to me. And I feel like our relationship goes deeper. And I was like, oh crap, I had no idea. I'm glad I didn't set out to do it for that
Yeah.
reason, but I was really, really excited when she told me that because it was a secondary effect that was actually an even better effect than what I was after, right? And that's why I
Yeah.
asked, have you noticed any impact when because you've been so consistent, if the girls have mentioned anything that you're like,
A,
oh
a,
yeah,
a, 1,000%. In fact, just this last weekend, and this is a legitimate example because it just happened. I think on Saturday I went to jiu-jitsu, and the day before, my my daughter goes, "Daddy, are you gonna be the nail or the hammer tomorrow?" And for those listening, Armando told me when I got into jiu-jitsu, he's like, "Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's gonna suck. Like you're gonna be the nail for a while, and then eventually you'll be the hammer." So I somehow she heard that story, and so now my daughters pray for me not to be the nail. They pray for me to be the hammer at jiu-jitsu. So I told her that I was going, and she says, "Oh, because I wanted to run with you to Nana's house." My parents moved in with my sister. They're building an efficiency, and they live, I don't know, it's like a 4 minute golf cart away. I think it's like a 25-minute walk. And so at least once a month, if not multiple times a month, we now walk there or jog there. And so we had been doing that consistently. And she says, "Oh, I wanna run to Nana's." Dude, that is not something she would have asked to do. She would have said, "Hey, let's go on the golf cart."
right.
She certainly wouldn't have said, "Hey, let's run to Nana's." So it's cool. Like to me, that's what I call vision stacking. Vision stacking is when you can combine different elements from your vision and do them together. So why is it vision stacking? Well, number one, I'm spending time with my daughters and my family. Number two, I'm getting some type of exercise in. Number three, I'm in the sun, which is going to be healthy for me. right? I mean, at least not, generally speaking, right? I'm not out there like baking for hours and hours and hours. But so I'm outside. We're gonna have conversation. I'm gonna then go see my parents. Just quality time. Like that's to me, that's a vision stacking element, right? I'm combining exercise, being outside, and spending time with my daughters. So yeah, man, to answer your question, that was a very long-winded way to say absolutely. Like I think because they've seen me be consistent, because they see that I go to the gym and now I've started jujitsu, I encourage them to like get off the screens and jump in the trampoline, grab the pickleball paddle and hit the ball against the wall. Do things because motion creates emotion. I think I'd like to think that myself and my wife too, because my wife has been super consistent in her own and she's lost a bunch of weight. And kids see that. Kids see that. And I believe it does have an impact on them.
That's great. By the way, thank you for sharing that. I never heard the term vision stacking like that, and I love the visual of that, because I've experienced it in my life. I just didn't have a term for it. It was
Yeah.
like, hey, this is just another way of connecting with the family. So I like the idea of the vision stack.
Dude, you and I, that's a vision stack element for you. The fact that I get to now train jujitsu and learn something,
Yeah,
and we get to hang out,
yeah.
right? And we get to go deeper. I get to choke you out every now and then, right? So
Okay.
like that, those are
Priority
vision.
differences.
That's vision stacking. Yes, me choking you out and submitting you is on my vision.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, it's only on the vision because it hasn't happened yet.
I don't know about that. It's your podcast, so I'm not going to challenge you, okay?
Hey, Alex, thank you, man. I really appreciate you sharing your experience and sharing these different perspectives that I think are critical in understanding the journey because we all have a different journey. We all have a path to walk down. And when it comes to our health, when it comes to pain, when it comes to injury, it can get frustrating. It could feel isolating. And I think one of the most important things is seek out that team, seek out the environment. You know, your environment is the one of the biggest predictors of success. And
Yeah.
if you don't have the people around you, you don't have the environment around you, the ability for you to heal decreases significantly. And so I want to thank you for number one, being open to having this conversation, sharing your experience, and sharing how you were able to stack your environment to help you succeed and moving forward. And I know this about you because you get to do something very similar with your gifts in helping people with real estate and specifically that storage. And so
Mhm.
I want to take this opportunity real quick to give you the platform for anyone there that is stuck in that 9 to 5 that has always thought about investing in real estate or they're a real estate investor but is curious about a new asset class where you get the best of both worlds of
Mhm.
real estate, but you also are buying a business. So you get the
Yeah.
cash flow and you get that. I'd love for you to share briefly, like, again, where they can find you, like how you can help people, and if there's anything anywhere you'd want them to go to, at the very least, consume some of this stuff that they can
Yeah, brother.
see right away.
No, thank you, man. First and foremost, I appreciate you having me on. Love what you're doing with the podcast and just all the content that you put out on YouTube as well and all your social channels. But yeah, look, I would say alexpardo.com. Alexpardo.com would be the first place. I've been putting out consistently a lot more content about storage and how that can change your life on my YouTube channel. So youtube.com/alexpardo, just my name. And then I have been hosting a podcast now, depending on when people listen to this. I've been hosting a podcast called The Flip Empire Show for in June of 2025. Coming up here, it's going to be 9 years. I'm in the process of rebranding that podcast. So, depending on when you listen to this podcast, it may still be The Flip Empire Show or it might be called Storage Wins. But either way, if you just look up The Flip Empire Show, you should get routed to the new podcast. And so, that has been those have been the platforms I think God's given me to be able to share my voice to impact and help people. And so I just give freely. I share why it's great. I also share some of the challenges and lessons learned along the way because I truly believe that we can learn not just from people's wins and the success, but we can also win from hearing the setbacks and the adversity and how they overcame it. So I just share everything openly and freely So those would be some of the places I would say for that where people can find me and learn more.
Awesome, Alex. Eh, do you suggest that they start there, or do you like if somebody's like, "Hey, I'm, I want to learn more about this storage thing."
Yeah, look, I would say if somebody's like, hey, storage is something I've been interested in, or and I want to have a conversation about it, storagewins.com/apply would be the best place to go. Storagewins, wins.com/apply.
Okay. Awesome, Alex. Thank you so much. Thank you for being or going against the herd in the way you approach life. I appreciate that because I think we need more and more people to to be nonconformists from that perspective.
Yeah.
Going with the flow will give you average at best. And if you want to seek to be excellent, you have to be willing to do something different. You have to approach things differently. And I applaud you for doing that in your space. And I applaud you for suspending disbelief and allowing me to serve you in the best way that I
Thank you,
can.
brother. Thank you, man.
All
No,
right.
I'm super grateful for you, man. So thank you so much.
All right, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.